Welcome, Seb Wichmann here, and in today's video what I would like to discuss today is a little bit my journey around how I've moved and transitioned from somebody who thought building a brand and building an authority and building credibility behind actions or executions in my business would ultimately get me where I want to go. And versus my realization and transition a few years ago that it's really about value creation and it's really about focusing on the customer than focusing on myself. So let's talk about this a little bit today. So as you may relate, and what I can see is that many coaches, life coaches, spiritual healers, consultants in well-being or health, we position ourselves or trying to sell our services by telling everyone how good we are. What services we offer and what we provide in the marketplace. And I think that's great the way it is. However, what I have realized over all those years, what I see a lot of other people and professionals get into, is we remain too much focusing on ourselves, right? Where we are passionate about something and we put that into the marketplace, hoping that this sticks and hoping that clients come our way. And what I would like to propose right now is to flip that perspective upside down, where of course we want to be clear about what we are passionate about and what we love to do and therefore attract the right audience. And there's processes of how we can identify and how we want to go about this. But equally, we want to make sure that this value creation piece, so to speak, is looked at, right? And what I mean specifically with that is that we want to identify, first of all, a specific market, an ideal customer or a niche that we want to go after. So if I go back now a number of years, I have been and I'm very fascinated still with something called neuro-linguistic programming, and you're probably familiar with that as well. And I thought that I could help everyone with a mind, and that may be true, that we are able to help people in all sorts of directions with all sorts of emotional barriers and so on. But how difficult is that to market to, right? And so I didn't have a market, and hence the message didn't stick, so to speak, that I tried to put out there. And the first piece, I guess, here into the value creation is that is to make sure that we know who our ideal customer is, right? And what I see a lot of people do, the mistake I have done in the beginning, is to sit down on my desk and to think about, that is my ideal customer, this is who I want to go after, this is what I'm passionate about, and I believe this person has this problem. But what I failed to realize at the time, I guess, is that sitting down on my desk in my own little mind, I guess, to contemplate on what I believe and assume somebody else's problems is kind of ludicrous, right? It's something that just doesn't make any sense. And you probably can appreciate that. And I think what we want to instead do is to go through a bit of a value creation chain, right? And I'm going to draw this out in a second here for you. So what this stipulates here, this little model, is a different way of thinking as an entrepreneur, right? And the way of thinking of transitioning away from us towards the other, towards the customer, towards the value creation, if this makes sense, okay? And what we want to do, obviously, in order to create an offering into the marketplace, what we need to do first is to understand, okay, what's the actual problem we're trying to solve? It's not so much about us coming up with an idea or us assuming something what the problem is. It's actually about us speaking to our ideal market that we identified and making sure we understand the problem statement, we understand the issue we are dealing with, we understand, I guess, the service or the offering we want to tailor towards a problem or a challenge, right? So, and I guess something else to say here is that unless there is a strong pain point, unless there is a problem somebody goes through or a company goes through, for example, it's very, very difficult to sell this, right? And it's very, very difficult to ask somebody to pay for this in return. And as you look at money in general, money inherently doesn't have any value, right? So the value that we create is bridging someone from their problem, from their current state to their desired state, to the results that they want to create, right? And that is really the value we create in the market. And in turn, the byproduct of us creating value is financial means, is money. But again, you can see now, if the problem is not well defined and our offering in terms of the bridge between the problem and the desire is not well structured, or we're not able to achieve that, again, they are dissatisfied customer, and so all that needs to be planned out, obviously, right? So this little model here stipulates simply that we need to have identified a problem. And how do we identify a problem is not by us sitting on the desk and us going through our mind, us assuming what somebody else's problems are. Again, if you believe that somebody else could pick up your problems, that's probably a very difficult task, right? So I guess what we want to do instead, actually, to talk to the audience, right? To talk to people, to ask them, once we are clear about the audience, right? Once we are clear about the type of person we're trying to attract, once we're clear about what we are passionate about, which relates to, and what our expertise are as well, which relates to the type of person we want to work with, or the type of company we want to work with, we then need to go out there into the market and do some research, right? We need to talk to the people. We need to ask them, okay, what is your problem, right? What are your challenges, right? What are you experiencing right now that is of challenge in this certain context that you defined your business to be in? And we need to write this down. We need to analyze this a little bit. We need to spend a little bit of time on that, right? And then the next piece, if you will, is to think about and to propose and to ask, I guess, in the same or in the secondary research phase, and this doesn't have to take long. This may be done in a day, that may be done in 3 weeks, right? This is not a year's work period of work here. But I guess we need to spend some conscious time around understanding what's the problem, and then define as well, okay, now we understand what the problem is. The reverse of it, the opposite side of it, maybe the solution, maybe the results thereafter, right? So, but let's ask them. So we can propose a question again. Okay, now I see and I hear what challenge you go through and what problems you experience. Now tell me, what do you want to experience instead? What do you desire secretly? What's the result that you're after, that you want to achieve, right? And there are certain scenarios, right? There's maybe somebody that wants to feel more happy or more fulfilled in life. There may be somebody who needs to have more clarity in terms of their direction, whether or not that's in business or life. There's somebody who wants to lose weight and wants to work towards a more, more well-balanced, well-being in terms of their lifestyle. There's maybe somebody that wants to look at clarifying certain aspect in their business and wants to increase customer bases, right? So there are certain areas, I guess, that we want to look at, that people want to create, but we need to ask them, right? We don't want to sit down for ourselves to assume what they want either, right? And so this here is now really the desire, right? Or the result that they're after, right? And as you can see, once we map out, first of all, the problem statement and the desire, and we clearly define this, and we have asked and did some research in our due diligence in this regard, then we can understand how we bridge I guess, the gap, right? And in turn, it will reveal to us what the potential offering may be. What is the service about, right? Again, we want to stand for something, right? And that something is creating solutions, creating value in the market, right? Moving somebody as quick as possible from where they are right now to where they want to be. And that in turn informs our offering, right? And that is then the next step, to make sure that the offering hits those pain points and addresses them and then moves them towards the desired solution. Right? So I hope this little message here really sinks in. And just to recap, I guess it's really important, and again, based on my experience, to understand that it is not about just building credibility, and it's not about just having some pretty pictures, and it's not about just telling everyone what you can do, right? I think it's good to be passionate about something, but once we understand what we stand for and I guess who we ideally want to serve, we need to turn the back on us, so to speak, let that be for the moment, and really solely focus on the customer, the end consumer, right? And in that regard, to looking at, okay, how do we now create value in the marketplace, right? And how do we create value? Well, we need to identify, first of all, what is the problem here that we're trying to solve? So we need to talk to the market. So let's not sit down on our desk by ourselves and assume things, right? So we can certainly start thinking and do pre-market research in our own head, but then we need to go out there into the market and really validate this, right? And then we are thinking as well about, okay, now I understand what the problem is, what the challenge is that people experience, and what is actually the desire, what's the result that they're after. And once we understood that, we then are able to sit down and think about, okay, what is the offering that would move a customer as quick as possible towards the desired state? And by doing this, we walk away from this social media hype where everyone tries to outperform the other to, I guess, more of a blue ocean strategy, if you will, right? Because if you have the most defined niche and you provide the most accurate and most efficient service to move somebody from problem to desired state, you literally will outperform anyone else in the market, right? Because in the end, the customer really doesn't care about you. The customer cares about the pain they're having and the desire they want to move towards to, and often they don't know how to go about it. And this is why we are here as coaches, as consultants. All right, my friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little session. If you got out of it, leave me a comment. Would love to interact with you, and I wish you a wonderful day. Take care.